What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. This is Mason, and I am your host for today, looking at our top 5 class of 2025 interior defensive linemen. Now, we used a new rubric this year to just kind of break down everything that we needed. And looking at the new rubric, it kind of does break down into our 10-point categories, which are our frame, versatility, play recognition, which is arm extension, getting into the backfield, batting passes, form tackling, strength, hit power, and the ability to strip the ball while hitting somebody, agility, and run stopping. Our 5-point categories, which we only have 4 for this group, is finesse pass rushing, power pass rushing, finesse run block shedding, and power run block shedding. Now, looking at defense is what we're looking at here, so that's why we're looking at how they get off the blocks, not how they block them. Again, this is the top 5 interior defensive linemen of the class of 2025. And now I'm going to get right into it and talk about our number 5 pass rusher for the class of 2025. He comes out of Denver East High School with a PMC accumulative grade from all 3, Simon, Cody, and myself, of 79.13. It's Jesse Matthews. He's 6'1", 290 pounds. Again, he's out of Denver East High School. Now, to just get started breaking down what this guy does best and what he needs to work on, I'm going to start with what Cody had to say. He just pushes the wing tee back into the lap of the offense, and I think that is something that he did time and time again on this film. Little hand fighting action was solid. Nice sack for big snacks. Little rip move to get into the backfield. I like some of his finesse moves. He stays somewhat low on the get off, but he is an inconsistent tackler who comes in kind of high. That's kind of what Cody said. Obviously, I think he's breaking down the film as he's talking about this. Looking at some of the grades that Simon had for him, he had, an 8.5 power run block for his versatility. He had a 8.5 for power run block. He had a 4.1. His play recognition was an 8.2. His strength was an 8.6. Some of the low ends for him was, his hit power was at a 7. His agility was at a 5 out of 10, which is pretty low. And his block shedding was a 3.9. Going into the next step for this guy, for me, I think he's truly a ground and pound type of defensive lineman. He's the type of guy that gets results, and he is able to affect any play on any occasion. He's very strong and a good hand fighter. Does not have a great finesse game, so that's one of his weaknesses there, and that's one that all of us have said is his finesse pass rushing is a little bit lower than what it probably could be. He needs to work on his hip mobility and his hip power. Being so big, I expected a little bit more of a boom when watching his hitting. He doesn't kill someone when he hits them, but obviously he gets it done, or else he would not be on this list. Looking just total overall of his scores, some of the scores that we look at here, for me, I have him out of an overall rating of 80. Cody has him at 80.2. Simon is a little lower than us at a 77.2. I think that this is a pretty good grade for him. Looking forward into the future, I think that this guy's definitely, a D2 guy. He could be a very effective player on that D2 level. He has a few offers right now, but no commitments as far as I can see as of December 29th. But he's definitely ready, and he definitely could play on that next level. I think he needs a red shirt year just to be able to work into a bit more mobility and being a little bit more effective. But year 2, this guy could definitely get it done. Again, this is Jesse Matthews out of Denver East High School with an accumulative PMC grade of 79.13. And coming up, I will talk about the number 4 rusher on this list. Now, looking at our number 4 defensive tackle of the class of 2025, he is 6'2", 280 pounds, out of Discovery Canyon with a cumulative PMC score of 79.613. It's Jude. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced this last name. Sujata. Now, I'm just going to go straight into it. Simon has to say the DCC defensive tackle followed up his junior year breakout season with another excellent performance. I got to see him 3 times versus Pueblo Central, Harrison, and Pueblo South. He's an absolute dominant in all of those games. He has a knack for getting penetration and getting into the backfield. Whenever it's to stop the run or pass, his power rushing and block shedding has improved, but I'd like to see him continue to get stronger for those to be effective. He does have a bag of finesse rush moves where he can hand those to be effective. Simon says that his block shedding doesn't allow him to make a lot of plays. He has a great finesse move, and add on that his IQ is big time. And I have to 100% agree with that. I think this player's IQ is a big time thing in this prospect. He's definitely an FCS defensive guy, which Simon agrees here. He's a lot quicker than he looks, as well as it does not go without being noticed. And that's, I think that's another big underrated part of his game, is seeing him play. Simon saw it live that he is very effective and he's a lot faster than he looks. Now, let's talk what Cody has to say. He says, overall, I like Jude's bag. He got a nice blend of moves to get into the backfield and is smart. His tackling is lazy and way too high. I could agree there too. He's pretty strong, but his performance lacked consistency, which is worrying just a little bit. He has a technique, but doesn't always commit to proper approach, and that's a problem. His agility is seamless at his size, and I wouldn't have any issue asking him to do something athletic. Now, looking at what Cody said here, I have to 100% agree. I think that athletically, he is gifted, and he, at his size, is going to get it done, no matter what you ask him to do. I can also say that he is a little bit inconsistent, and he is very high. This is shown in his film. I'm saying first play of his senior, film make, he has a wicked face mask in it. I mean, he makes a great move, and it's about what he does getting there, but I mean, the face mask was awful. Now, he has really fast hands. His play recognition's awesome. Like I said, he's a great athlete. He's an aggressive player, and he is not afraid of contact. Not one bit. This is not a guy that you have to worry about hitting somebody and being like, oh, is he going to get it done? Now, looking at his overall grades here, I gave him a 78.35. Cody gave him a 78.35 as well. Simon gave him an 82.15. I think Simon gave him a little bit higher because he is able to, see him live, and maybe that does make a little bit of an effect on this guy. Some of my best things for him was his play recognition, his versatility, and his finesse block shedding. It's not often that you see a defensive tackle that can finesse block shed as well as he can. His hip mobility, that was an 8.3 out of 10. That is great for his size, being 280 pounds. Couple things that I wish that he could work on is his strength, giving it a 7.5. His power pass rushing, which then would also come with strength, he's like a 3.8. His size, I gave him a 7.8, but I don't think that's much on him. I just think I wish he was a little bit taller. Now, overall, I think that he is a great prospect. And looking at where he will play football next, as of right now, he has a verbal commitment to the Colorado School of Mines, and I definitely think this is a good fit for him. I think he could go low-level D1, but this is a very high-level D2, and I think that they could get him right out there, and I could see him being dominant after 1 to 2 year redshirt. I personally know a couple guys that have played over at the School of Mines, and I know their coaching is pristine, and they are not afraid to get it done. So out there, I think he'll learn a little bit more of what he needs to learn, be a little bit more consistent. At the end of the day, he's going to come out and dominate. So best of luck over at the School of Mines. This is our number 4 defensive tackle in the class of 2025. Again, I apologize if I butcher your name. Jude Sujata out of Discovery Canyon High School. 79.613 cumulative score from PMC. Coming up next, We're going to basically get to that halfway point with the number 3 defensive tackle in the class of 2025. Now, welcome back, and looking to our number 3 defensive tackle in the class of 2025. We have a kind of an undersized guy at 5'11", 260 out of Pueblo South High School in Frankie Pacheco. Now looking at this, man, he's a 79.65 cumulative PMC grade, which, if you look back at the guys before him, it was a 79.61 going to a 79.65. It's a close race here, but he is our number 3 guy. Looking at it, I think that he is super strong for an undersized DT. I think that he, being undersized, might have to move around coming into the next years. Looking into college, I think that he is going to have to either gain some weight, hopefully he grows a little if he wants to continue to play DT, but I think he could probably move out and play a little bit of, defensive end-ish type of thing. Now looking at Cody, wins with the sweet rip on snap 1. That's talking about his film. I know exactly what he's talking about here. Yes, that's just exactly how it is. The strip and run for the tutty is nuts. Nice spin to get off the block in the run game. He's pretty agile, which, he is. He is an agile player. He seems to have always tackled through the ball carrier, which is the way you do it. I think this is absolutely insane because every single time he makes a tackle, he's going to finish the tackle. He doesn't like other people to have to help him. Then Cody does go on to say in his film that the pick 6 is foul, which is, yes, seeing a pick 6 from a defensive tackle, I like to see the big guys get scores. That's how it is. His spin move is so seamless. He is pretty hard hitter. I like the way I see from him so far. The power isn't overwhelming, but it is present. His first step is not super impressive. His play recognition is pretty good, and he flows to the ball well upfield. Now, looking at some of the scores that I gave him, I have to agree 100%. Everything Cody said here is true. I think that his hip mobility is amazing. I think that his form tackling and play recognition is some of his higher ones for me. His hit power, I gave him an 8.6, which is pretty good, especially for being undersized like this. His hip mobility, I gave him a 8.6 as well. His lowest one is obviously his frame. I gave him a 6 at being only 5'11", 250. And then on his versatility, I think he's kind of a one type of guy. 7.4 out of 10 on that. 3.7 on his power pass rush, but his finesse pass rush was a 4.2. I think he gets it done in the finesse game, which is what makes me believe he could probably play edge rusher in the next level. Simon says the Pueblo South, him being undersized is an issue and will probably limit him from being a D1 guy. But he is a versatile player that can translate to an edge rusher on the next level if he wanted to. At his frame, he gets great leverage, and that supplements some of the strength there. I agree. His leverage game is perfect, which allows him to do a lot of things that he probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Even then, he is a very strong at his frame and can cause fits in the backfield. Strength is still my biggest concern for him on the next level if he chooses to stick to the interior. If he pops outside, then he will need to get faster. Either way, I think he's a solid D2 player that can be rotational at least. Now, I have to agree 100% here. I think that if he moves to the outside, his speed will need a little bit of work. That can come in a redshirt year. Plain and simple. They get it done no matter where you go. If you're with a good, speed and conditioning coach, you'll be able to get your speed up in a year. One redshirt year allows him to, come into his own as an edge rusher. I think that he could play defensive tackle at the same, but he's going to have to get a lot stronger. Now, looking at our grades as a whole, I gave Frankie Pacheco the 79.5. Cody gave him an 80.1. Simon gave him a 79.35, which again gives him a 79.65 cumulative grade. Now, looking into a few things this guy has done, obviously, if you pay attention to our awards, he is a PMC award winner in 2024. As of right now, I'm not seeing a whole lot of offers or anything of that nature. I think that is due to his undersized. It looks like he went to a camp for CSU, and I mean, if you watch, you can see how strong he is, and just the fact that a lot of his stuff is, I mean, he did a 490-pound squat with a 315 for 2 on bench. Like, he's a strong dude, and he's definitely getting stronger. As of right now, it doesn't look like he has any offers, but I think a D2 is the place to go for Frankie Pacheco. Now, this is our number 3 defensive tackle in the class of 2025, Frankie Pacheco, 5'11", 260, out of Pueblo South High School. Again, he has a 79.65 cumulative PMC grade. And congratulations. And coming up, we're going to go into our top 2, starting with number 2, and that'll be next. All right, now looking at our number 2 defensive tackle in the class of 2025. I am sorry if I mispronounced your last name. It is Simeon Savo, the 6'4", 290-pound defensive tackle out of Pueblo Central High School. He had a cumulative PMC grade of 81.833. I'm going to talk straight into what Simon has to say. I got to watch him versus DCC to start the season, and he was an absolute powerhouse with Central. He was consistently in the backfield and was overpowering blockers with ease. I think he is a little raw despite being a great athlete, but he has a lot of potential at his frame. Coming from Samoa in April, that's to be expected. But there is no doubt that he is D1 with the right refinement at the finesse rusher and learning more of the cues in the run game. Cody says, uses his hands incredibly well, engages quick, very strong. Have to agree with all of those. Gets where he wants and is incredibly difficult to move. Draws holding calls, hits pretty damn hard. Here on the interior, still maybe a little high on tackling. Mainly a power guy. Doesn't show a lot of finesse in the run game. Now, I think that he gets a really good shove personally in the run game, and I think that his frame is probably one of the best things. He has solid play recognition and strength. He's always in the backfield, and he can get a lot done with his power. I think his finesse blocking needs a little work. Now, I think he's a great athlete, and that's really hard to come by when you're this big. 6'4", 290. He has height and size, which is really, really good. I think that personally, I would like to see him just work a little more on the finesse side of things, but I think that when it comes to the run game, he is the type of guy you want. His form tackling only got a 7.7 out of 10 for me. He gets a little high, like Cody says. I think he just needs to drop a little bit lower. That comes with time. His strength being an 8.9, his hit power being an 8.5, his agility being an 8.4, and his run stopping being an 8.2. That's pretty elite. Play recognition is an 8.6. He just knows where the ball's going. He has to get there. I think an 8.4 frame is a great one for him. If he could put on a little weight, that might go up. I like his size. I like the way he works. He definitely gets it done for these guys. Now, looking at his overall for us, our last guy was a 79.65. He jumps up to an 81.833 repeating. And Simon giving him an 81.5. Cody giving him an 81.8. I give him an 82.2. I like this guy a lot. I think that he's a very dominant in both the pass and run game. That's really tough to come by, especially for a defensive tackle. Now, let's look at where this guy is going to be playing on the next level, because he will be playing on the next level, because he is already committed to UNC, the University of Northern Colorado. As Cody and them would say, Sco Bears. That's for them. Now, looking at that, I think that's a great spot for him. It's a kind of a lower level D1, but it's also a very, very good school over there. I think that it's a great place for him to play. I like him there a lot. I think that he could probably get a lot of good work in with a red shirt year and then come off the red shirt year, make his name known. Looking at, everything there, I think that D1 is definitely for him. That's where he has to be. Now, I think that if he wanted to, he could take a redshirt year, play a year at UNC, and probably move on to a little bit better of a spot. That's just me. Sorry, Cody and Simon. I know that you guys don't want him to move on from UNC, but that's how it would work. Now, this is our number 2 defensive tackle in the class of 2025, Simeon Suevo. I am really sorry if I mispronounced that again. The 6'4", 290-pound commit to the University of Northern Colorado out of Pueblo Central High School. Now, before we go into the next one, I will go over kind of just everyone's grades again before we get to the number 1 guy. Going into everyone's grades, we have our number 5 guy, Jesse Matthews, that came out with a 79.13. Our number 4 defensive tackle that came out with a 79.613. Then we went to our number 3, Frankie Pacheco, that came out with a 79.65. And then we went up to our number 2 guy, again, Simeon Suevo, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it again, with an 81.83. Looking at that, we have quite a few guys that we did, breakdowns on and looked at. So looking at a few honorable mentions for this, I'm going to go through just a couple. We had Thomas Green, Tommy Whitehouse, Andrew Borsch, Cody Wittig, Christian Nightwalker, Andrew Distel, Moses Cooper, Hudson Steber, Aiden Drake. Those are just a couple to just break down and make it a quick honorable mention session. Everybody did a really good job. It was a really close race here. Those were our top 5. But coming up next is our number 1 defensive tackle in the class of 2025. Now, looking at our 2025 number 1 defensive tackle in the class of 2025, it's going to be 6'4", 285-pound Vincent Johnston out of Palisade High School, cumulative grade of an 82.66. Now, I'm going to go straight into what I have to say. I think he's a bit slow off the line, but he works with his head and placement on tackles that is perfect. Overall, a solid defender with strong football player IQ. I think that he does a great job making breaks on the ball, stuffing out through the brush to make the line and get to the runner, a great run stopper, and I think that he is still decently effective in the pass game. I think he has great eyes and vision in the backfield, and even though he doesn't make the fastest first step, he's not afraid to make first contact, and he will go through you. Now, looking at Cody, he says great eyes, looking into the backfield, easily handles the lineman with one arm. That just shows how strong this guy is. Cody literally says, "Goddamn, out of this world, natural ability, and is pretty damn agile." I think he could afford to add weight and is still operating at the level that he operates at. Very good at getting his eyes up. His frame, he could translate to defensive end. I agree. I think that he could translate over to defensive end as well. I wish his feet stayed a little bit more active, but he's usually so strong it doesn't cost a lot. His pad level is usually pretty good. As for the foes that he faces, I think that I agree he stays pretty low, even though he faces some guys that are a lot stronger than him. Looking at what Simon has to say here, he says the Palisade defensive tackle has wreaked havoc in 3A for the last 2 seasons. At 6'4", he has the wingspan to keep blockers away from him, but most importantly, get on his hands quickly and then go down what he needs to do. His senior season, I felt like he traded off a little bit of more agility for strength, but that does not change where he is as a nose tackle. He is a great blend of frame and athleticism, and I do think, based on the simple fact alone, he has an FCS potential. I think that I have to agree with Simon here. An FCS potential is a very good ceiling for this guy. I think that he could go beyond it after a year of redshirting and just a little bit more working. Going back to what Simon has to say, but I do think he needs to clean up his block shedding and get a bit more efficient. I have to agree there as well. He needs to get a better at hand fighting and using his frame to block shed easier and move on. He is a little raw in that area, but it does not improve that I think the sky is the limit. I would not be surprised if he went D2. Now, looking at everything for him, I agree 100% that I think that if he goes D2, it's not a bad spot for him. I think that he could go D1 very easily. Looking at everything for him, I have him at a 9 for versatility. His finesse pass rush is a 3.8, 3.85 for finesse run blocking, or run block shedding. But then looking at it, play recognition is an 8.5. Form tackling is a 7.9. 8.4 strength. A lot of things here. His agility is a 8.1 for me. I think that he is a very solid blocker all around. Now, I think that, looking at some of Simon's grades, he has them a little bit lower than anyone else, if that makes sense. But looking overall at all of our grades for this guy, our number one defensive tackle, Simon came out with an 80.25. I gave him an 83.1. Cody gave him an 84.65. 82.66 repeating is his final score for that. Looking at where this guy's going to play college, as of right now, he is not committed, but he does have a good few offers. So I do think that the few offers that he has is going to be very good. And looking forward, I think, D2 is not a bad place for him, but I also think he could play Division I football. I think he needs a redshirt year, and then, after that, as a football player, maybe a second redshirt year wouldn't be bad. Even going into it, I think he could play his second year hands down at a Division I. Now, going back through this list, going over our number 5 through 1 respectively. Number 5 guy is Jesse Matthews out of Denver East. Now we're going to our number 4 is Jude Sudaha out of Discovery Canyon. Our number 3 is Frankie Pacheco out of Pueblo South. Our number 2 is Simeon Suave out of Pueblo Central. And our number 1 interior defensive lineman of the class of 2025 is Vincent Johnston out of Palisade High School. Now, thank you guys for listening. Listen further, for some of our future top 5s coming out, and also go back and listen to the ones you haven't heard already. Thank you so much for listening, and peace.